Today we are making a white bean and kale soup. This soup is amazing. When I first saw the recipe, I wasn't quite sure whether I was gonna like it. It is hands down turned into one of my absolute favorite recipes, and I've been making this soup almost every single week. So I'm so excited to share it with you. It's an adaptation off of a WeightWatchers recipe. And you guys, the WeightWatchers recipe is only 1 point. How awesome is that? You can make this on the stove or in a pressure cooker, which is what I'm gonna be doing. I've put it on saute mode, and I have 2 tablespoons of organic olive oil heating up in there. And then I'm going to take 1 cup of onion cut up, and I'm going to go ahead and saute the onion in the olive oil. And once those onions turn translucent, I'm gonna add in 2 cups of kale. My onions are sauteed, they are translucent. I've added in my kale. We are going to wilt this. Now, it ended up being a benefit that the kale that I had in the refrigerator was a little bit wilted already. So it's not gonna take nearly as long, but we're gonna mix this up until it wilts down, kind of like how spinach does. And then we are going to add in 32 ounces of our vegetable broth. I am using this Better Than Bouillon organic vegetable broth, which is amazing. If you haven't tried this, you absolutely have to. But it's really, really good for making vegan dishes and when you're needing a good vegetable broth. So we will be using 4 cups of that, which you could, a container is 32 ounces, so you could just use a container as well. And we're gonna pour that broth in once the kale is wilted all the way down. My broth is in, the kale wilted down, and now I am going to mince 2 cloves of garlic into this. You could chop up the garlic if you wanted to, but I like to mince it because you really want it to blend all together, and you want it to incorporate into the soup. And when it's in pieces, sometimes it's a little difficult to do that. At this point, everything is boiling, and I'm going to go ahead and add in my 2 cans of Great Northern beans, organic, Simply Truth Great Northern beans, a container or a bag of corn, but you could also use a container of corn, a can of corn. This is actually probably the equivalent of 2 cans of corn. And then last, we're gonna be adding cauliflower. Now, I am going to be adding cauliflower florets, about a half a bag, because this is a 16-ounce bag. We only need about 8 to 10 ounces. Plus, I want the actual cauliflower florets in here. But one thing you could either substitute or you could add in would be some riced cauliflower, right? This is a great substitute, and because if you want to puree some of the soup at the end, or you want it to be a little bit thicker, this helps with that process. Or this could actually, you could make this a creamy soup using this instead. So I'm gonna use a cup of the riced cauliflower and then about a half a bag of the florets. Now, at this point, you could put the lid on, cancel this out, and switch it to soup mode on your pressure cooker. Or just leave it the way it is on saute mode. It's gonna run for 30 minutes. It's been boiling every time I've added something in, so it will continue to boil for 30 minutes, and you could cook this just like on saute mode or just like on the stove. And then you're gonna salt and pepper to taste this. So you can add the salt and pepper in whenever you want to. I added a little bit in when I had my onions sauteing, and then I'm gonna add a little bit more now, but just salt and pepper to your liking. It finished saute mode, and at this point what I'm gonna do is I'm actually going to go ahead and pressure cook it, and here's why. What I found is that it tends to be very brothy. Like right now it's very brothy, which is fine, and you could serve it that way. Just keep it on saute mode or convert it to slow cook mode and let it cook for as long as you want to, like another hour or 2. But by pressure cooking it, I noticed that it actually turned it from more of a broth into a little bit more creamy of a soup instead of brothiness, without having to puree anything. So that's just another option for you. If you have a pressure cooker, go ahead and throw it on pressure cook mode. It's gonna run for about 12 to 18 minutes, and it's just gonna thicken up the broth a little bit so it's not as brothy. It's just an option. Our soup is done. It smells amazing. It thickened up the broth exactly how I wanted it to. Oh my goodness, I wish we had smell-o-vision. One other way that you could doctor up this soup or alter it, you could add some chicken, some rotisserie chicken if you wanted to. You could add some turkey sausage. Of course, make sure they're cooked before you put them into the soup, but you could absolutely add meat to this, do any modification you want to, but there is your organic, vegan, non-dairy, and gluten-free white bean and kale soup.